Bam! Yo, yo, yo! Welcome to the top of the bleachers. It is Thursday, September 26th, 2024, and we are live. We are hanging out, chilling. We got our friend, Coach Benji Mahan, hanging out with us today. We're going to ask him some questions and talk about some Razorbacks, maybe a little high school football, and just kind of hang out and chat with our buddy, man. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing good, man. Had a good day. Wasn't too hot. Ran around with my tops off. Got done early. Even got a nap in before the show. So
you may need to clarify that tops.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that top.
I took my shirt off and drove around. I thought that was pretty clear.
Okay.
Oh, the top's on my Jeep. I deliver mail, and I run around with the tops off my Jeep during the summer because my air conditioner blows just hard enough to make you mad. So I just go full.
Are you good at like hook shotting the mail out of the top, or do you have to?
No. It's a right side drive, actually.
Nice.
The most common question I get is it hard learning how to drive on that side? I'm like, was it hard learning how to drive on the other side? Everything's in the same place. It's not like the pedals are backwards.
I'm telling you, it's hard to ride in one of them things, though, because it scares the hell out of you riding over there right by the line like that. Just traffic just flying by you. Like, whoa,
you're supposed to have the steering wheel.
Yeah, I have no control. I'm over there just like, what is going on? There's no wheel. Yeah, it is.
You just hug the white line instead of, well, you really shouldn't hug the yellow line, but you just hug the white line. It's what you do.
Okay. Well, cool.
But it's a good day.
Well, good. Ben, you good, man? You had a good day?
Yeah, I did have a good day. We practiced this morning, and it was about 54 degrees this morning, which was nice.
Yeah.
I had to have a few sleeves on, which was good. And, everything went good. Good day.
Awesome.
I love it when the weather starts to turn. It really starts becoming football weather then.
No doubt.
Boom. I had to run my heater yesterday morning. I was like, what in the world?
I'm not to that point yet. Not gonna run the heater yet.
I'm a little further north than you, but not that far. Anyway, well, let's jump right in then. I had some questions about this high school stuff you're going. I checked your schedule. Yeah. It's a little tough, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't know who put that together, but gee whiz.
I mean, I'm a little out of touch with the high school football in Arkansas as far as I used to be. But just looking at some of these names here, Bentonville West, probably. I don't know. Bentonville, they pretty good. Rogers, Fayetteville.
Yeah. So, Bentonville and Fayetteville met in the finals last year. Obviously they're pretty good. And we open up conference with Bentonville, and then we end our conference with Fayetteville. So hopefully we can find some in between. We can score more points than they do.
You get a little bit more excited to play somewhere that you've coached, like playing against a former school that you coached at?
Sometimes it's fun. Other times it's not, because you got some buddies over there. You know, I spent, I guess, 5 years at Bentonville, and a lot of those guys that I coached with are still there. And when I was at Fayetteville and we would play Bentonville, it was always just a really good battle, knock them out, drag them out type deal. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of fun, but at the same time, it's like, it's like going against you two. I mean, it's not fun when you're competing against your buddies, but in between the getting to see everybody beforehand and the after, it's just a game like any other,
Yeah. Oh, I know Fayetteville has been good. I think I've seen a Bentonville game. I'm pretty sure I came to one of the games I came to. I think it was Bentonville.
Yeah, we used to always play them twice a year. We'd play them the regular season and then end up playing each other again in the state tournament.
Well, I saw you was 1-2. You hung 65 though on Farmington. I think it was.
We did.
Right?
Yeah, we had a pretty good night that night offensively. What's interesting about that is they lined up in something a little bit different than what we prepared for. And so, I had my script all ready to go that I'd spent countless hours on, and just kind of tossed it over my shoulder. It was like, okay, well, this one's going to be fun. And so we kind of scratched and clawed for a little while, and Farmington was up 21-0 at one point, end of the first quarter. Yeah, 21-0.
Wow.
And then I think we ended up scoring like, I don't know what it was in two quarters, like 54 in second and third quarter, and then we finished in the fourth. It was nuts how it all went. And I got to the end of it, it's like, oh my gracious, just warm.
That's quite a bit about your team. I mean, get down 21-0 and fight back. I mean, 21-0 in the first quarter, you got a lot of teams laid down on you.
Yeah, and I think maybe last year we would have. Our kids have grown up in that, grown up a little bit since last year in something like that, and it helped being at home. That always helps. But little history here. If you got any Mountain Home Bombers that might be listening, I know you two are. Head coach of Farmington's Tommy Tice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Harrison all those years, and that was actually the first win that I ever got to.
This is going to sound really bad, but I figured that man was retired or dead by now.
Well, he was retired, and the Farmington coach left late, like early June, something like that. And Coach Tice lives in Farmington. His grandkids go to school there, and so they brought him on. I don't know how long he's actually going to stay, but that was kind of an easy transition right there since it happened so late.
He must be like in his 80s or something, right?
I think he's early to mid 70s. Yeah.
So you got a kid on your team, Titus Kramer.
Yep.
4.5 speed, got 200 yards last game.
Yeah.
This kid going to get a D1 offer?
I don't know about D1. He's got all the tools, and he's really strong too in the weight room. He's one of our strongest guys.
How big?
That's where the issue lies. He's 165, 170 pounds. Now it's a strong. I mean, it's packed together really, really well, and he can run, and he's got great feet, and it's just really hard to tackle him one-on-one. And we use him a lot as receiver, as well as hand the ball to him at running back. Good thing is he's only a junior, so we got him for 2 more years. He had 2 older brothers that went through Har-ber. Both of them played defense and just really good players for us, and looking forward to the next year and a half with him as well.
What about blocking? Can he block?
Yeah, we don't ask him to very often. I'd rather have the ball in his hands instead of him blocking for somebody else.
Well, I'm just saying, like chip blocking or whatever when you drop back to pass.
Yeah, we don't see too many of those freaks like you might see in college and NFL at defensive end, to where we have to, help the offensive line with it. Now, I'm not saying we don't give up sacks, we do, but again, we would rather get those guys out and about instead of messing around with those defensive ends.
Well, 3 games, he's got 9 TDs. I mean, the kid sounds like he's the whole package.
Well, if you can just give him a little crease, you're not going to catch him. He's got like track speed, and he does. He runs for the track team and 100 meters. I don't know if he does any hurdles or not, but the guy can flat out run.
So what kind of offense we running? We spreading it out? Like
I know you were around a lot when I was at Mountain Home, and we spread it around a little bit there. We used a lot of tight ends, 2 tight end stuff. And we are doing a lot of the similar things. Coach Eckley, our head coach, wants to play fast, which is great. I love playing fast. But within that, he likes to vary up the tempo a little bit. And how we do that is we really don't let the kids know that we're varying up the tempo. We're not changing the tempo. How we do that is we'll shift or use motions. Sometimes we'll break out of what they call a sugar huddle, where we get in there really tight and then it's breakout. And so what that allows us to do is change speeds without the kids knowing it. Because as soon as you pull back on those kids, they'll play slow. It's natural. But if you continue to hammer them in practice of get lined up quick, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. That's the mindset they have. And then so we may go 2 or 3 plays where we're going as fast as we can, and then we'll pull back for a play by shifting 2 tight ends over to one side or bringing a motion or whatever, and then we'll go back to playing fast. So it's kind of fun doing that. A couple of years ago, we had a center, and he was really, really good, but he was stubborn too. And if he didn't want to play fast, he was not going to play fast. And he's the one that snaps the ball. Yeah. So if he got tired, he's like, they can't do it without me. And I get so frustrated, but I'm like, I'm not replacing him because he's really good,
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's good then. Well, I saw it they just lost in Greenwood, of course, but they're always really good. So,
Yeah,
but what's
Greenwood's
our?
really, really special right now. They've got a quarterback, obviously, that can go anywhere wherever he wants.
Yeah,
But they've also gotten some really quality move-ins, not only from Fort Smith on the north side of town, but they got one from Wichita, Kansas that came in, got one from Lincoln, Nebraska that came in. And you're like, hey, they were good already. They don't need any more. And they had some different bodies than what Greenwood's even used to. It's always been a great system, and now you throw in some really good players, and it was pretty tough. I was a little disappointed we only scored 19. We had a really good plan, and I thought we could move the ball on their defense, and we did. We had 2 critical drops in the red zone in the first half that would have changed. It wouldn't have changed what happened on the other side of the ball, because those guys were going to score every time they got it, but it would have changed kind of how we felt on offense. And you walk out of there 50-32 or whatever, it changes how you feel.
yeah, for sure. Well, what's the outlook for the rest of the season looking like though? We looking like we're going to compete for conference or?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the message to our kids is everybody's 0-0 right now. And we have a little momentum. We're coming off an off week where we worked on a lot of fundamentals, worked on a few new things that we think we can put in. And but we opened up conference at Bentonville, which is always a tough place to play. Now, I'll say this, they're 0-3, which is really strange. Both Bentonville schools are 0-6, which is a rarity because they're really good football teams.
That is rare.
But if you look at who Bentonville play, what's that?
Is there new coaches or anything like that? Why would
they? Bentonville opened up with Tulsa Union, who's really, really good. And then they went to Conway, and Conway's got that quarterback's going to Arkansas. Wilson. And that was a tough game for them. And then they went up and played Lee Summit North in Kansas City. And right now, Lee Summit North's getting all the athletes out of Kansas City to come play there. And it was like watching a college team play when I was watching that film. So a lot of it has to do with who they've played, not necessarily them themselves. So we know that they're, them and Fayetteville are tops in the conference. And if we want to win a conference championship, we're going to have to go through them. And, it starts tomorrow night.
Awesome.
Speaking of Conway, so they pick up a new head coach, Buck James, who comes from Bryant, won multiple championships there. What do you think about the matchup between Conway and Bryant? You think it's going to be a slobber knocker or what?
When is that? Is it a couple of weeks from now?
Oh man, I had it pulled up.
You don't have to look. That's an interesting one. Buck's always been good at wherever he's been. He was at Camden Fairview for a long time and did some really good things. And then I think he took a break, went to Little Rock Christian for a little while, and then Bryant. The thing at Bryant is he started pulling a lot of those kids out of South Little Rock that have always been there, but now they were getting them at Bryant and combining them with already some really good players. So it was like the perfect matchup. And they hired his defensive coordinator to be the head coach. So Bryant's kind of keeping that rolling. Conway's always been one of those teams that you don't really want to play because they've always had players, a good mixture of linemen and skill guys, but they've never been able to get over the top and win the whole thing. And, Buck's got the experience of doing that. So maybe it's Conway's time. I don't know. Conway lost a really good coach and Keith Fimple. Keith's a good friend of mine. He's now our athletic director. And my whole time of thought was if Keith can't get it done, nobody can. But then they hired Buck James. Like, well, maybe Buck's the guy that can actually get them over that hump.
I actually working at the post office with 60 other people. I've heard Keith Thimple's name before, and them upset that he wasn't going to be the coach and everything.
Yeah, Keith was a really, really good guy. He saw it as a chance to move back to Northwest Arkansas. His wife and kids really enjoyed it up here when he was the defense coordinator at Har-ber. And so he took that job and got out of the coaching world. But I think if you ask him right now, he's probably got more stress as the AD than he did head coach at Conway.
Well, I don't have to ask him. I knew the AD at Sheridan for a while, and
Yeah, that's right. You understand that then, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
Now the superintendent at Hampton. By the way, he told me to tell you hello.
Well, how about the Hampton Bulldogs? Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that
Okay.
is right. First time he's
Good.
ever been a Bulldog.
Huh.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And he lost a whole bunch of weight, right?
Yeah, he had that
Yeah.
bariatric surgery. Yeah, he's down
Well,
to
you didn't have to tell me how.
he's under like 200 or whatever. He came
Yeah.
over. He came over to visit the other day, and he was going to swim in the pool, and he left his shirt on. I said, "Man, you lost all that weight. Take your shirt off." He said, "You don't want to see it. You you don't want to see it."
Yeah.
Good for Matt.
Apparently, a lot of excess skin left.
It happens. Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. That happens. All right.
It-
Well, anything else about the high school stuff, or you want to switch to your
I got
Arkansas stuff?
I got one more thing, man. So the last couple of years, 8-man football has showed up in Arkansas. What's your thoughts on 8-man football?
I think it's really good because it allows those kids at those smaller schools to get to experience football. You know, Izard County Consolidated, I don't know if y'all remember that. You know, they had a pretty good basketball bunch when we were growing up, but you'd have never thought that they played football. Well, this gives them a chance to play football. I remember a story when I was at Mountain Home. My defensive coordinator had coached at Mountain View at one time, and Mountain View's still 11-man football, but it kind of goes with this. He said they had 12 players on their team, 12, and all through fall camp they had this mantra on defense was, you know, get off the field, as in hold the offense, get them to punt so we can get off the field. And he said we had 12 guys. We get into the first game, it's like get off the field. Well, they stop them. Well, they can't get off the field because they only got 12 guys. So I felt bad for the one guy, you know, that had to stand next to the coach. Was it the same one guy the whole game? That would be a big deal. But anyway, it gives those schools a chance to play and experience that. I think it's a cool deal. Have y'all watched it on TV?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's kind of freaky because, you know, they use different parts of the field. It's not as wide. I think like the top of the numbers are out of bounds. And so you see this guy running down the field, and it's like he's going to go score, and they say, "Well, he stepped out of bounds." It's like, no, he didn't.
Yeah, no, I went to with the wife. Her family's in Nebraska. We went up there on vacation, and her brother actually is a volunteer coach. They don't have like hired coaches where it's just volunteer guys or whatever. So her brother's a volunteer, and it's like the head coach or assistant coach or something.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to a game, and it was pretty darn good. There's a lot of running. It didn't seem like there was much of a pass game involved, but it was exciting. I think they ended up winning, of course, but it was a close game.
I don't know if this is happening in Arkansas yet, but I know in like Texas, maybe even Kansas, there's guys that come out of 8-man football and go to, you know, big universities and play, because at the end of the day, skill is skill. It doesn't matter where you come from.
Yeah,
that's true. That's awesome.
You know, we got probably thousands of recruits that watch this show. So how hard is it for a kid realistically to get a D1 offer?
It's not necessarily, well, if you're good enough, they will find you. And that message is sometimes hard for parents to accept.
Well, every parent thinks their kid's good enough.
Right. And usually the level that the kid ends up at is usually pretty accurate of where they can or cannot play. And that's another hard pill for some parents to swallow.
So what is the difference between a 4-star and say a 5-star coming out of high school?
There's not much difference between a 4-star and a 5-star. I mean, those guys are freaknoids. You start seeing a little bit at the 3-star type gap. And it's either we had an offensive lineman at Fayetteville, maybe it was at Bentonville, I don't remember, but he was 6'3", and that, you know, Arkansas comes in and says, we don't recruit anybody that's below 6'4". Like, okay, that's an inch, You know, we don't play the game this way. We play it this way, but whatever, you know, and that's where your stars end up happening. Is he's not a 4-5 guy, he's a 4-6-2 guy. But one thing that I'm encouraged that Bobby Petrino is back. Forget all the other stuff that happened off the field. What he does with a lot of 2-star and 3-star guys is how he develops them over time. And he did that the first time he was at Arkansas. Now, it's a different game than it was back then, as in guys don't stay in the program long enough to be developed. But he can, I feel like he did the best at that. One of the best guys that can do that. And so, there's a fine line. Since my kids have been at UCA the last 4 years, we've gone to a lot of FCS games watching UCA. And they got some really good players, and they've gotten some guys from, FBS schools that are upset or whatever, and they come down to play FCS, and that's fun to watch. But a lot of times the difference between FCS and FBS is you'll see it in the interior lines. It's hard to find 5 biggins, like the FBS can find. You're always going to find 1 or 2 that don't quite fill out their pants the right way, And maybe their skill guys are 6 foot tall instead of 6'2", 6'3". So.
Well, it's hard to find those 5 big dudes in FBS. I mean, if you're not Alabama or Ohio State or Texas, trying to pull in some of those big O linemen is tough.
Yeah, it really is. And you just gotta. And that to me was where, like Arkansas, you can't say things like, well, I'm not going to take a guy that's under 6'4".
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if he'll gnaw your leg off, you might want to look at him.
Yeah, no kidding.
He's 18. Who's to say he's not going to grow another 2 inches or whatever?
Sure.
That's true, too.
I mean, I remember running into Jamie Camp. Okay, I ran into Jamie Camp when our first reunion that we did.
Yeah.
And he's a park ranger, or was at the time.
Yeah, he's like 6'12". Yeah.
He's a behemoth of a man.
Yeah, he filled out.
And that did not happen until after he graduated.
No.
So what's the highest ranked or highest star player that you've had since you've been coaching?
Yeah, we had a defensive lineman at Fayetteville named Akil Byers, and I know he was a 3-star. He might have been a 4. I don't know. I don't pay attention much to those different stars, but I know that everybody in the world wanted him, and you just don't find defensive linemen like that. There's a little guy by the name of Dre Greenlaw. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Yeah. I heard him one time.
He's pretty good. Now, he got 2 offers. He got offered by Georgia, and this is back Mark Richt days. Georgia was okay. It's not what they were now. He got offered by Georgia. And that was really his only offer for a while. Arkansas held off, and then they came in and they offered him. And, if Dre wasn't making the tackle or Brooks Ellis wasn't making the tackle, nobody was making the tackle back then. And here the guy is starting in the Super Bowl. So, but he wasn't highly recruited. Now, there was a guy his age named C.J. O'Grady. I don't know if you remember C.J., played tight end at Arkansas. I mean, he was getting offers by Oregon and Oklahoma. I mean, across the nation. I mean, here the guy is 6'7", but he had the body to go with it. He was 240, 250 and could run and had great hands. And he had an okay career at Arkansas. It could have been better. And he got a little shot in the pros for a little bit. But Akil was probably the most fun because he was a defensive lineman, and everybody kind of slobbers over defensive linemen. And so to see Alabama and Ohio State, coming in and trying to recruit that. Georgia was in. That's when Kirby Smart had just gotten there, and so they were trying to get that thing going. Tennessee was in there quite a bit, but they were struggling, kind of on hard times. But it was funny. Arkansas really didn't go after him all that much, which is weird. He's across the street, Yeah.
But
anyway,
him and Greenlaw were on the same team, right?
Greenlaw and O'Grady would have been on the same team. Akil Byers would have come 2 years later.
I think I got to see them both play. I went to that state championship game where Greenlaw was in.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah.
And I went to that one, and he played safety. and I was like, that man's a safety, you
No,
know?
he's not.
Oh my gosh. No, he wasn't. When he got to college, he was a linebacker, you know.
He's
I'm
full
like,
grown. That's
dadgum.
right.
Well, I
Yeah.
am not a 49ers fan, but my heart broke a little bit when I saw him tear that Achilles running out onto the field. It's
Yeah,
like,
you
oh
know that
my gosh,
we were talking about that in the office. That must be a more severe injury than even like an ACL. You hear ACL 6 months,
Yeah.
and that happened early February, and he's still not back.
Yeah, Achilles is like a year, I think. I think it's like a full year recovery.
Yeah. So I hope he's back soon. He got a newborn and he's doing really good. He has an interesting story. He was an orphan as a kid in Little Rock, and actually one of the coaches at Fayetteville ended up adopting him and brought him up. I think he brought him up to Fayetteville as a 9th grader, a little skinny guy, and he grew into it.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
So what do you think of the NIL money? Is it true?
Yeah.
I've heard this, and I don't know if this is true. Is it true that if you're a senior in high school and you have a D1 offer, that you can actually receive NIL money?
If you're in that state, for sure, Missouri. Like I know that their Congress passed that law that if Missouri offers you a scholarship and you say, "Hey, I'm in the state of Missouri. I live in Springfield or Kansas City, wherever," and I just say I'm going to go to the University of Missouri. I'm going to take that money now. I can start taking it as a senior. That may be happening in Arkansas. I don't know that for a fact, but it's really smart on the state of Missouri's end.
Sure, you get that
build a
kid.
wall around this place, and hey, you can get your money early, which is a great idea.
Yeah, no kidding. Keep everybody at home.
Yep.
That's wild. I think Georgia might have just passed something like that as well, right?
Yeah, Georgia's probably doing it. There's no telling what they're
Yeah, I saw
rich
something
get
about
richer down there.
Yeah, the whole Neil thing. I mean, well, the basketball, of course, we're everybody ranks this way up there, thinks we have a lot of money because of the Mr. Tyson or whatever, but the football team has been a hot topic here lately.
Yeah, that's really the only chance that we have, in my opinion, in the state of Arkansas is basketball, maybe a little bit baseball, just because I don't know how much money is being exchanged hands across the country in baseball. But football, we're gonna struggle. It's just the bottom line. You're gonna have the haves and the have-nots, and there's about 10 to 15 teams that can compete with the haves financially, and then everybody else is just gonna. Here's what you got. This is what you got to do, and that's kind of why I mentioned Bobby Petrino earlier. Is I believe he can take a guy that maybe have a chip on his shoulder because he wasn't offered the money that this other guy did at Texas or Alabama or wherever, and come in and stay for 2 or 3 years and be decent and grow and develop. And that's, to me, the only way we can do it. In basketball, it's different. And this is a lot of what maybe Kentucky's issue was. They had the best money could buy for those young guys. But when they went against 22 and 23-year-olds that had been in the system for 4 or 5 years, it was tough to beat them because they were older, they were more mature, they were wiser and such. And so I asked Rick Jones. I don't know if y'all know who Rick Jones is. Rick was the head coach at Greenwood for years and years, won lots of state championships. Well, he's up at Missouri as he's assistant to the head coach. So he is not on the field coaching. He's kind of got a office job. I asked him, I said, can you do that same model in football where you can get guys that maybe aren't the top and maybe have a little chip on their shoulder and stay in the program, and by the time they're 22 and 23, if they all stick together, can win? And he didn't think it could because something's going to happen in those 2 or 3 years. And with kids able to transfer so easily, they're going to say, nope, I'm out. Or they're going to say, I think I can go play at Alabama. I want to prove myself there. And so I want to transfer there. And it's just hard to keep those guys. It's hard to keep 22 guys all together for, 4 or 5 years, which is sad because you look at Nebraska back in the 90s, 80s and 90s, that's what they did. They kept guys rolling. They had those walk-ons in there and they rolled people, and that's how it was built. And I just don't think it's going to be that way anymore. Too much money.
Well, I like the transfer portal because I feel like it kind of, I don't know, gives a little more parity in the league.
It does
whatever.
that. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Big and I were talking about this the other day. They're going to have to, especially now that this NIL money's around and everything, they're going to have to come up with some sort of system that kind of the same way they got in pro football, to where you're going to have to sign a contract when you come in and you say you're going to stay for 2 years or 3 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of, okay, we'll give you this NIL money, and like this kid at UNLV who decides, hey, you know, we're 3-0, we're doing well. If y'all don't up my NIL, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
You know, it holds the student responsible along with the coaching staff if you make them sign a contract and they're, I don't want to say stuck there, but they're committed there for 2 years or 3 years or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I think the contract's a good idea, but I think a salary cap is also my
idea. Yeah, we were talking about that too.
In order for
not just the salary cap, but an NIL cap. There needs to be like, you can only have X amount of money.
Yeah. And then it's your job to decide, okay, what am I going to do with this? Which goes back to your 85 scholarship rule. You know, okay, we got 85 scholarships. How are we going to differentiate them? You've got $5 million. How are you going to differentiate? Well, we got to have this quarterback right here. Okay, boom. We're going to give him $1 million, and then we're going to spread the 5, you know, whatever that is, the rest of them. And that allows the Arkansas and the Oklahoma States, you know, to compete with the Alabamas and Ohio States. I think.
I also believe that along with the NFL model, they ought to, since they're getting paid, they ought to be fined and penalized. I mean, if you break a team rule or you give, I don't know, the finger guns on the side to the sideline as you're running down, that's going to be a fine at the end of the year or at the end of the game or whatever.
Yeah. Well, college, it's going to end up being the minor leagues for the NFL.
Yeah. What do you think of the NFL kickoff? You think that's going to trickle down to college and high school?
I do, and I hope so.
I kind of like it.
I hate kickoff. I hold my breath every time, like, oh my gosh.
Somebody's going to get killed.
And if you think about it, would you want to be on kickoff? Oh, I'm going to run full speed and run at a guy that's running full speed, and I'm going to try to tackle that guy? Sheesh. You know?
Yeah.
So I like the idea. I know they have that landing zone and all that other stuff, which might be a little bit more difficult for a high school kid kicking, but I think it'll end up trickling down. In fact, I bet colleges it's there next year and probably high school the following year.
I kind of like it. It seems like, I know we've only had 3 games in the NFL season, but it seems like there's been a few more dynamic run backs this year than there has been. And somebody like a Devin Hester or a Turpin or somebody like that becomes a lot more dangerous in a situation like that.
Yeah, that poor kicker. He's out there really by himself.
No doubt.
He's definitely on an island all by himself out there.
Right.
No kidding. Well, let's see. I had some. You had a question about Nut, didn't you? Houston Nut, didn't you say?
I was just wondering if you, when you were actually playing for Houston Nut, because we had this whole thing with Hugh Freeze come up where apparently he likes to throw his players under the bus and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I made the comment to Big that I don't feel like Houston Nut was that way. Houston Nut probably still keeps up with some of his players to this day.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, when you were playing for him, do you have a memory or a story about Nut that, I don't know, was funny or maybe inspiring or something like that?
Well, you know, I guess he caught lightning in a bottle. It was just perfect timing on his deal. And here he's an up and coming guy with a lot of energy. You know, he loves the state of Arkansas, as that been shown many times. He got to coach at Arkansas for a while, but then he got on the path that really doesn't happen anymore, but it's a really good path. It's a wise path. he got his first head coaching job there at Murray State. And it's I guess now it's called an FCS, and did really, really well, which gave him a chance to go to Boise, which isn't in the Power Four, but it's the next step. And he does well and he proves himself there, and then he gets the Arkansas job. So I liked that, how that all worked out. It seems like now they're looking for that flash in the pan type guy, and
Dion.
that's what he was.
They're looking for Dion, like
yeah,
Dion at Colorado.
Yeah, we don't have enough time on this show to talk about that.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Coach Ford, who understood football, he understood how to run a team. He had learned it from Bear Bryant. He had done it at Clemson, but it was kind of a different day. I mean, we were hard-nosed, not saying I was, but the guys around us were hard-nosed, tough guys, because those practices were so tough and they were so physical. And that was the culture that we had there. And we just couldn't get over the top going against some of the teams that we had to go against. I mean, it was brutal. And then he comes in, and, with Coach Ford, it was practice time. And then when practice was over with, you didn't see that guy. He wasn't going to go through the locker room and how was your day or anything like that. It was all business. And here comes Coach Nutt and all his staff, and they're all about us and the relationships with us and getting to know us and finding out what's going on, whether it's good or bad, and just that enthusiasm, those relationships that they built. I mean, we would have driven through 4 walls for that guy just because we knew that he loved us and he cared for us, and, he trusted us. And like I said, the lightning in a bottle was you had all these tough guys that had grown up together through the system, had gone through all the adversity we'd gone through. And now it's like freedom. We're going to let this guy's going to let us be us, and it's going to be fun. And we went down to the pool there at the Hyper and dove off the diving board. He'd have crazy stuff at practice. He changed up the uniforms. I mean, it was always, you just never knew what was going on, but it was always good and exciting. He brought in guys to speak to us, and it was really, really cool. But to go back to that throwing under the bus, I mean, I was really disappointed in Coach Freeze and how he handled that. And, I was really surprised. But, we had the incident at Tennessee that where Clint stumbles over Brandon Burlsworth's foot after I'd thrown the ball over the punter's head. And I mean, there's just all these things that had happened in the last 5 minutes of that game where we were ahead. We were beating the number 1 team in the country, and everything was going as planned, and then it all falls apart. And I don't know if y'all remember this, but you can look back into the newspapers and all that other stuff. It was as if everybody on the team took ownership of it. Here I was, a deep snapper. I had never talked to the media before in my life after a game, and I had 18 guys sticking, microphones in my face. So like, sheesh, And you know what I did? I owned it. Well, you go around the room and you got Clint Sterner. He's saying, it's my fault. And then you go Brandon Burlsworth. He's like, it's my fault because he tripped him. And it's just on and on and on. And there were multiple guys that even weren't involved in those major incidents that was saying, I could have done better. I could have not dropped the ball on 3rd down or whatever. And that's what it takes, in my opinion. That's character. That's all the things that Coach Nutt had talked to us about it, and he could have easily just thrown him under the bus. They did a really neat documentary, I guess you might say, on Burlsworth about a year ago, just about his walk on and making it into the player he was. It wasn't so much about his death and such, but you talk to different players about all that had gone on in that year. It was really, really special. And then it got into that game itself, and there was nobody that was pointing fingers. It was always like, I can't believe all that stuff happened, you got this guy that had done this, and all of a sudden he's been good, and then all of a sudden this happens. This is a simple play, and all of a sudden he trips over. I mean, it was if you had to have adversity, that's how it was handled correctly. And for Hugh Freeze to say, if we played those guys 9 out of 9, we're going to beat them 9. I'm like, are you kidding? You just got beat bad and ugly. And it wasn't like Arkansas was very good.
No, we tried to give the ball away.
We tried to give it. And that was just disappointing. And you see that a lot. I mean, you see it with Dion. He blames his offensive line when his son doesn't throw it correctly or he gets sacked. And that's why you had to replace all 5 of your offensive line. And it doesn't matter who you are or how you coach and all that. If you start doing that, people aren't going to follow you.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about Houston catching lightning in a bottle. He's also like the perfect picture of being too successful too quickly. You know, he had that great year his first year. I think y'all even went to the SEC championship that year, didn't you?
Well, we didn't because we let Mississippi State beat us. Let me tell you a good story.
You went one year.
Yeah, I went in 95. That was under Ford. In 98, I mean, we shared it. We shared the West with Mississippi State. And how they did it back then is the team that hadn't been there, the most recent, was the one that got to go. Mississippi State never been.
Oh, man.
So they got to go. Which
sounds like the team.
It would have been cool because we had to play Tennessee again, and that's what we wanted to do because we thought, man, we can get those guys again.
Man, I can't believe that the higher ups didn't make that happen.
Yeah, I know.
At least flip a coin or something. Dang.
Yeah. So Mississippi State beats us on a last-second field goal, and they chart. You know, their fans run out there on the field and do all that stuff, and they had them stupid cowbells, and they're ringing them in our face and everything. Well, our right guard, Russ Brown, he's a senior. He's about 6 foot tall, and he's about 300 pounds. He's probably not 300, but he had no neck, you know, and he was a wrestler from Bristow, Oklahoma. So he had the cauliflower ears and just no neck. And some old Mississippi State guy rings his cowbell in front of his face, and Russ goes, "Clock! Knock that kid out." Oh. But then, sorry, Devils, they stole everything on our bench. They stole our water bottles, our towels, our footballs, everything that we had, they stole. We had to restock everything the next week. It's like they never could handle wins. Like, well, you're pitiful again, Mississippi. Jeez. But Tucker, you made a good point. I mean, he had a good year there, and then they got the McFadden and all that going. And, you know, Coach Nutt and how he does everything, he's got a little drama that goes with him, and he's got all that going. But I wish he could have stayed in there for a few more years. It's kind of like coaches are a lot like preachers. They're a lot like judges, you know. Everybody's kind of got their time limit where everybody's like, well, he threw me in jail 10 years ago. I don't like that guy, you know. And the preacher says he changes when the offering is being taken in the church service, and everybody gets mad and wants to get rid of him. It's the same way with coaches, you know, at some point.
Well, it's that way in high school football coaches, high school principals, ADs. You get on the bad side of a board member, and the next thing you know, you're backing your family up, moving.
Yeah.
So you play for the Hogs for 4 years.
Yep.
What did you take away from being a D1 player that maybe helped you later on in life?
I think the rigor of it all, the routines. I didn't get to live a normal college student life because of it. You know, I have some people ask me, "Hey, were you in a fraternity when you're in college?" I was like, I didn't have time for it. I mean, you had to be here at a certain time. You had weights at this time. You had study hall at this time. You got practice at this time, and then you're worn out, and then, you know, so on and so on. So I think that helped me later on becoming a coach. That's kind of how I still live my life. You know, you hear a lot of people in the military, you know, how they went through the military is how they kind of live their lives now. And that's kind of the way we are. It's interesting. I was actually married my final year at Arkansas, And that helped my wife become a coach's wife because of how much I was gone that first year in marriage. Going through football season is how she, came to, I guess, expect it as we went. I feel like I'm probably home more now than I was even back then, and I'm not home enough for sure. But I think that's a lot of it. Is it just teaches you, you better be on time, you better be where you're supposed to be, and at the same time, you got a job to do, and you got to do your job. And when you don't do your job, there's going to be consequences.
Do you feel like that playing for Arkansas has helped you on your resume any?
I feel like it did probably early on. As time goes, it's like a lot of things. It's like, they kind of forget that kind of stuff. And, what's interesting is early on, I was really proud of that. And I'm still proud of the time that I did, but it's not like I'm going to put on my Twitter handle, hey, I played for Arkansas back in 94 to 98,
Yeah.
It becomes one of those deals where, I have my helmet over here in my,
That was another question I was going to ask you. What memorabilia do you still have around?
Yeah, I do. I do have my helmet, and it sits in our not in our living room, but our TV room or whatever on the shelf. But I have a signed Indianapolis Colts helmet from Peyton Manning sitting next to it. So,
sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and more people are more attracted to that than the Razorback helmet. Of course. But yeah, I got to keep our bowl jerseys, which was neat. And a lot of people framed those and put those up. Gave them to my parents. My parents have them. I think I've got one, but they've got the other one. And then, I kept my game pants, which why am I going to wear them? But they're in the attic somewhere.
You can always whip them out for Halloween or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Which some of my kids, I think, did actually wear, all that stuff. But thankfully, I was on two teams that we've got some championship rings, which is pretty cool to be able to have those. I don't wear them, but to have them, that's something I can always.
You don't ever wear them?
I don't.
Like you get dressed up to the nines to take your wife out. You don't slip on one of your SEC championship rings.
No.
Oh man, you need to bring them to my house. I'd wear them all the time.
They're in that same book deal in our TV room there. So
nice.
Yeah.
I got two more things for you. One, what do you think about the game this week? A&M. You think we got a shot at this game? What's your thoughts and maybe a prediction?
Last time in Jerry World.
Is it really? They going back to home and home?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's sad. I really like it being there.
Pittman made the case that we're kind of like Auburn's got 5 home games in a row,
Yeah.
And we're kind of gypping our fans. We already play one in Little Rock, and
yeah.
So.
I think that's where we're gypping our fans is the Little Rock game, because this one has been really good with recruiting. When you can tell recruits, hey, we're going to play in AT&T Stadium every year. I mean, that's pretty cool, especially in the state of Texas. I know, like the University of Arkansas, all the Texas students, I mean, they're already headed back home for this thing. So, I mean, it's a big deal. If you look at the schedule, we've got to have this one. And when I say that, it's going to be hard to get 6 if we don't get this one. Because you got Tennessee, who's really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
You got LSU. We might be able to get that one. Ole Miss is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get Mississippi State. So there's 4 for sure. You get La Tech. There's 5. Texas is going to be tough.
Yeah, Texas is going to whoop us. I'm pretty sure.
So to get to 6, you got to get A&M or LSU.
You still got Missouri. Last game of the year, you got Missouri.
Well, we stink against Missouri.
We do stink against Missouri.
We have so far.
And they're not even a football school. And that just hurts my soul that we can't beat Missouri. But we can.
Vandy gave them a ball game.
They did. So maybe there's some vulnerability there. But, what's interesting is A&M's always come into this thing highly touted over us usually, and it's always a barn burner. It's a really, really good game. I don't think they're very good offensively, which kind of maybe plays into our hands a little bit. Petrino seems to always find ways to score. Doesn't matter what kind of defense we go against. So I expect us to play well. I'm not confident, and I haven't watched A&M. I'm not confident in us yet to win a close game. I'm afraid that we will turn the ball over when we shouldn't, or do something really silly. We found a way at Auburn. So
other than UAPB, which we opened up with, FCS team, we have not played a clean football game. We turn the ball over. We make mistakes. We got guys getting blocked into our punter or our punt returner. It's just little bitty things, penalties. I mean, we got OSU down to a fourth we got them down to a fourth down, and our guy decides to suplex the other kid. It's just
literally.
It's just stupid little mistakes like that have been holding. If we can go in and we can actually play a clean ball game, I think we can beat A&M. A&M got beat by Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's overrated like they are every year. So I think we got a shot at it.
A couple things on the Oklahoma State deal. That first quarter, I know the first drive, I know we didn't get points, but that was as clean and dominant as I'd seen in a long time. And I thought, this is SEC versus Big 12. We're going to blow these guys out of the water.
I was hoping so.
And, we fiddle farted around. Next thing you know. The other thing is Auburn, first series, first drive, we're backed up. And what do? We jump off, a false start.
Mm-hmm.
And that place is going nuts. And I'm having flashbacks of Georgia a few years ago where it's 50-0 and we hadn't even broke a sweat yet.
Yeah.
And I thought, we're about to get blown out. What do? We go right down there and kick the field goal, whatever. And found a way to win the game, even though it was ugly. So it's hard to predict with these guys, but by golly, we've got to get a win or it's going to be tough sledding to get to a bowl. And I'm afraid if we don't get to a bowl, Sam's going to be looking for a job or retire.
Well, I didn't realize that the player that I would miss the most from last year would be Cam Little. Holy crap. Can we get a field goal kicker that can be consistent?
Yeah.
We got one coming.
We got one next year. Kid out of Mississippi.
Next year ain't going to save Sam's job.
This guy kicked a 60-something yard field goal the other day in high school, broke the record or whatever.
Yeah.
He's coming to Arkansas next year.
Dude, it's getting ridiculous in the NFL. They're hitting 66-yard field goals like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Yep.
We had a kid outside one time that could kick one direction and turn around and kick it the other direction. It's like, that's fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. One more thing. What's your thoughts on Coach Cal, the Coach Cal hiring and all that stuff that's been going on? And
I tell you this, and I think a lot of people have said this. I hated that guy when he was good. Now I love him,
I know.
Greatest guy ever.
Absolutely. Here's what I like about it is Arkansas finally becomes a brand nationwide. This guy has his own commercials, and we went out there and we pull a guy that everybody knows. And instantly, I think Arkansas basketball has always had a lot of respect, especially because of what Nolan did. But we instantly become in the mix for conversation. We may not win the national championship, but we're in the conversation. And when we take a bunch down to Auburn or we take a bunch down to Kentucky or wherever, and we walk in the gym, we look like we belong. Where before we've been scrappy and we have found ways to maybe make it close or win a game here and there, which is always fun and exciting. Now, I don't care how they got here. I don't care if we paid them. I don't care, I don't care any of it. We walk in like, we're the Arkansas Razorbacks. Let's go.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. We haven't had that in any of sports for a long time.
No, I know.
I'm really excited about seeing basketball this year because I think that Cal has a chip on his shoulder because Kentucky said, "Oh no, we don't want to pay you the money. We'll just move on from you.
We'll let you go."
And let you go. And I just feel like he's got a chip on his shoulder. I think that Kentucky game is circled on his calendar.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be fun this year. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I know we played Duke last year, but the games that we're playing too is cool. Those are national televised games. Illinois.
He's got number 1 Kansas coming into Bud Walton.
Oh, bring them. Let's go.
I know. First game ever as the coach. Let's just play number 1. Let's get it over with. I'm going to the Illinois game. I got my tickets already.
Where is that one?
Kansas City.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, no, on Thanksgiving Day, the wife and I are going to go.
What's that, T-Mobile Center? Is that what that is up there?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I keep up with all the recruiting and the 5 stars and all that stuff, and Musselman, it's a different breed. He would have like 300 guys Arkansas is talking to, whatever, Cal's like 10 guys. Wow. And they're all 5 stars. You know what I mean? It's not, he doesn't mess around with, like they got some in-state guys that are like 4 stars and stuff, what I mean? But yeah, we gave you an offer, but just hold on a minute. You know what I mean? Just hang on a minute before I let you commit. Let me talk to these guys over here first. You know what I mean?
It's a soft offer.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy how many 5 stars are lining up for visits and stuff. And we already got the 1 commit. So yeah, I'm super excited about the basketball.
Have you kept up with Musselman at USC? I mean, what's he getting?
A little bit. He hit the transfer portal real hard and got a bunch of players, and they're supposed to be decent. And I see on the recruiting stuff, they're the top 3 of like everybody seems like. They haven't got anybody yet. Yeah. But they're in the top. They're in the top 3. Like, oh, so and so in USC.
Yeah. That's an interesting move that he made. And at first I was a little disgusted. It's like, I can't believe USC. I mean, they've never done anything in basketball, and you're always going to be 3rd, 4th fiddle to the Lakers and Clippers and even the Dodgers and the Rams and all that's going on there. But once we got Cal, it's like, see you, Muss.
Yeah, that made it hurt a lot less.
That's right.
I like Muss. I liked him when he was a coach. I was on the Muss bus. I liked him a lot. I think he went to USC because it's home. I think he was just ready to go home. I think his wife probably had a little bit to do with it too.
No doubt.
Yeah.
But here's my prediction. So when we get seeded in the bracket this year, I'm already putting us in the NCAA tournament. When we get seeded in the bracket, on our side of the bracket, I expect to see USC.
Absolutely. It seems like they always do that kind of stuff. Yeah, you're right. What I really liked about him, and I always felt like our guys were prepared. I knew that he had been watching film and he had a plan put together. And if you just hung in there, I had a lot of confidence in him. And it's the same way with Petrino. I always have confidence that, hey, this is going to be good. Now, all the antics with the shirt taken off, and maybe that's recruiting and all that's great. But at the end of the day, I thought our guys were pretty tough under him, and he got us back in the mix.
Yeah, when he left, the year that he left, I felt like his team quit on him. And then when I found out that the team knew he was leaving early in the season, I knew they quit on him.
Yeah.
And that was probably the most disappointing thing about Muss's whole time up here.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't like that either. But yeah, we got some good games. Man, basketball is right around the corner, bro. We are almost there. So we're gonna have football and basketball going on. It's great. I saw a stat the other day. There's only one day in the entire year that there's not a major sporting event on or happening. There's only like one. I don't even know what day it is.
Wow.
There's only like one day out of the year where there's not basketball, football, or baseball.
May 10th. I have no idea.
It's probably November 4th.
Hey, y'all know we hadn't talked baseball, but if my Yankees can win one more, they win the East. And I know y'all don't care, but there it is.
I don't get into baseball until college starts up and the playoffs start in major leagues. Yeah. I did see that Oakland, and I didn't know this. This is how much I don't pay attention to baseball. Oakland played their last game ever in Oakland today.
Yeah.
Where's that team going?
Vegas.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And why not? Why not go to Vegas?
Yeah.
Why not? When you got DraftKings all over your billboards and stuff, you might as well go to Vegas.
Yeah, they're talking about the NBA expansion as well is going to be Vegas and
I think
Seattle.
Next year they're playing somewhere else though, while the stadium's being built. And I don't know where that is. It's somewhere weird.
Really, the whole year? Jeez.
Yeah, I don't think the.
Why didn't
stadium's
they
ready.
just stay in Oakland for another year?
Oakland kicked them out. It's like, oh, if you're going to go, you're going now, type deal.
Wow.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
We want you to go before you steal something.
Yeah, I saw clips of fans that were taking like handfuls of dirt from the infield and putting them in plastic bottles to keep, and people ripping out seats to take home and stuff.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You know, my freshman year at Arkansas, I'm traveling to all these places as the backup deep snapper. I mean, I'm living the dream. You know, this is fantastic. I put my baseball hat on and I watch SEC football from the sidelines. Great. Well, I started taking like the painted grass from all these stadiums, and I'd get home and I'd put them in the envelope. You know what painted grass does? It dies and it turns brown.
So you got a bunch of brown grass.
Got a bunch of brown grass.
Did you at least have it labeled so you know where the brown grass came from?
Yeah, I should have dug it out root wise and then planted it in my yard. You know,
that would have been cool.
That would have been awesome.
I think it'd have been frowned upon.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't know. Like anything else, Tuck? You got anything else you want to talk about?
No, man, we've gone an hour and 2 minutes, which is 20 minutes longer than we normally go.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, we're doing good, man. It was a good show. I appreciate you coming on, man, and talking to us and hanging out with us.
Hey,
Really
I'll do it
appreciate
anytime. It's always
Yeah,
good.
give me Barry Lunny Jr.'s number so I can call him up and prank him.
Frankie, that's right. This is Bruce. That's good stuff right there. That was good memory. Sorry, Tuck,
Yeah.
it had to, it's
Yeah,
at your
yeah.
expense, but it was really good memory.
It was funny once I calmed down. I was going to kill that guy.
Yeah. I don't know if y'all remember this, but I called John Pappas one time trying to order pizza late one night. Do y'all remember that? I looked in the phone book looking up Papa John, right? And I found Papa's John, and I called John Pappas. He answered. I said, "Is this Papa's John?" He's like, "No, this is John Pappas." Sorry, bro.
I wonder how many times that happens to him.
Probably a lot. Oh my gosh,
Shoot.
that'd be horrible. All right. Well, before we get out, we also want to make sure we talk about our mental health. That's our way we end every show. If you're struggling out there or need someone to talk to, you can call the national hotline 988. Get some help. Don't do life alone. If you're struggling or know someone is, you can give them the number too. Yeah. Check on the people that you love, people that you don't love. Don't do life alone.
Yeah. Suicide affects everybody. I think there's something like 60,000 suicides a year. September is National Suicide Awareness Month, so make sure and spread that number around to other people, 988. And like Big said, you know, just check in on people. All you got to do is say what's up or how you doing or, you know, how's things going. It makes a world of difference in people's lives.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, y'all enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will catch y'all later.
Sounds
Peace.
great. Thanks
Peace.
for having me.
Thanks for watching our show. Remember to subscribe for more shows on the network. Smash the like button, share, and comment.